Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to this edition of Heroes and Icons with myself, Pat Barry, brought to you by LearnMedia.tv in association with Blue Sky Broadcasting and Media Services Limited. This is episode 9 of the series where we look at some heroes and icons of the 19th and 20th century. Obviously, this is a personal choice of mine. And we have an email for the show, which is attached to it, and we'll be doing another series of this and later on as well. And if you have any suggestions for the show, you can email us info@learnmedia.tv, and we will indeed answer all the emails. And really, thanks to everybody who has taken the time to comment on the show and to view it as well. We are absolutely very pleased with it. And all our shows that we do are available on our YouTube channel, Learn Media TV, our YouTube channel. You can get them all there and catch up on anything you like, and all our platforms. So for this edition, I was just wondering, anybody who see the backdrop to the show will know instantly who the hero of this edition is. He doesn't need any introduction from me, but he, if I mention Canon, Jake and the Fat Man, well, you know who I'm talking about. It's Willem Conrad is our topic for this edition of Heroes and Icons. And indeed, I mean, he was prolific. He was an actor, a producer, a director. He did a script writer. He did actually everything. He was a man of many, many talents. And indeed, he provided this most wonderful voice for radio series as well through the 40s and the 50s. And he was a long time the voice of Rawhide, which originally was a radio series, believe it or not. And he was the long-running voice of the sheriff in the character in Rawhide in the radio edition, the audio edition. But as you know, then they decided to make it a television series, that is Rawhide. And indeed, I don't think any of the people who were playing the characters on the radio series made it onto the television, which was a great disappointment for William Conrad as well, because, I mean, it's not that he was entitled to the thing, but his voice was synonymous with the series to the audience, and it was disappointing on a personal level and professional level that William didn't get cast for the part. We know that Rawhide, that series, was one of the very first successful one that Clint Eastwood appeared in, as we know, but more about that later on in the show. Anyway, so he was a man of many talents, as I said, director, producer, and over 50 years in the business. He initially began his, I suppose, very long career as a radio writer and actor and scriptwriter, as I said, and he appeared in many, many films. The Killers in 1946, Body and Soul in 1947, Joan of Arc in 1948. Look, I could name them all. He's a huge arsenal, and he played many characters, good and evil in film and television and big screen and small screen, and on the radio as well. He voiced over many series as well, and that is Willem Conrad we're speaking with today. And as I said, you can get all these shows up on our YouTube channel. And as I said to you, Willem Conrad, he was born in 1920, and he was born, believe it or not, in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's coincidental that we did an earlier series, another program on our Heroes and Icons series on Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali, who was from Louisville, Kentucky as well. So William Conrad, and he was known as John William Conrad. He dropped the John, but he was actually born John William Cann, C-A-N-N, in 1920 in Louisville, Kentucky. And actually, his parents, John William Cann, of course, obviously called after his dad, and Ida May Upchurch Cann, they actually owned a movie theater. And of course, the young William grew up watching movies, you know, And then when he was in high school, the family up sticks and they moved to Southern California. And William majored in drama and literature at Fullerton College in Orange County. And there he began his career as a writer and director for a local radio station in Los Angeles called KMPC. You can look all that up yourself. You know, I was looking it up during the week myself. And during World War II, William Conrad served as a fighter pilot in World War II. And in 1943, when he was commissioned at Lube Field, he married June Nelson, on the day he was commissioned in 1943. They got married the same day as well. And that was his wife, and she passed away in 1977, this June Wilson. And then he left. He eventually left the United States Air Force, and he had reached the rank of captain. And also he acted as producer director on the Armed Forces Radio Service. Now, I suppose, you know, it's only when you begin to research somebody, you'd know general things about people, and you'd be familiar with their photograph, and you'd be familiar with bits and pieces you've seen down through. If you were my age anyway, you certainly would have seen black and white television morphing into color. So you would have seen his face on many things during the 60s and the 70s. And one estimate of William Conrad of the amount of roles he played during his radio career, one person or a couple of people decided to do a count of the different characters that he played during his radio career, and they totaled up to 7,500, which is astonishing. And of course, at the aforementioned at KMPC radio, he's only 22 years of age. That's William Conrad. He produced and acted in The Hermit's Cage from 1940 to 1944, and that was a popular syndicated horror anthology. I suppose we must try and remember or put ourselves back at that time when we did not have any television. So the radio was really the I suppose the premier way of communicating anything to a mass audience. It was through the radio. So these really, I mean, when you're reading about radio shows, and I'm reading about radio shows about the horror anthology, about series and all, these were very important to people as well, you know, for entertainment and etc. as well. So it was the radio was their television of the time, the communications, if you like, at the time. So, and he was in another series, the Man Called X, The Voyage of the Scarlet Queen, and all of that, and that's William Conrad. Now, of course, he also graduated and got some. I mean, in that film, in The Killers in 1946, which he appeared in, he was 26 then. Burt Lancaster, of course, headed the cast in that film, and of course, once you had someone like the standing of Burt Lancaster, well, in the film was bound to be of a particular standard, not because he was in, because I mean, obviously, you'd have a good quality of producer, good quality of director, and script writing, and all of that, because these were the stars at the time. And of course, he appeared in The Killers, and excuse me, and that was his William Conrad's film debut in The Killers. And then, of course, he got a part as well in Body and Soul, Sorry, Wrong Number, and one of the early films was made on the life of Joan of Arc in 1948. He was in that as well. But I suppose over here on this side of the world, obviously, I mean, I was aware of William Conrad because I had seen some of those films anyway, you know, and they're all black and white films. And because an awful lot of those, then when television came on the scene in the early 1960s here in Ireland, in the village I grew up in 1962, I think, or something like that, these black and white films were immediately translated onto the small screen, and they were shown, I think, on a Sunday early on, every Sunday around 3 o'clock. That was your film time, black and white film. And indeed, I mean, a lot of those films are just fantastic. There's no doubt about it. There's a lot of mediocre, and silly films as you get all the time, but by and large, we saw all the other ones. Now, I suppose when he, I mean, Jack Warner, the head of Warner Brothers, really, I suppose, had such deep affection and appreciation from the work of William Conrad that when they were finished filming the famous Maltese Falcon, Jack Warner gave William Conrad one of the statues of the Falcon, and he was it was 11.5 inches size, almost a foot high, the thing. But William, of course, had it on his shelf as a his bookshelf, and it weighed. I mean, it's weighed. I think around 45 pounds. Those figurines, and anyway, when of course when William Conrad died, the statue was consigned. His widow, Tippy Conrad, she had it, and she brought it to Christie's famous auction house, and they estimated that if she was to put it onto the auction site, that it would, or at the time, it could realize anything between $30,000 and $50,000. In December 1994, this famous falcon statuette, Christie sold it, the falcon, for a whopping $398,500. So there you go now. That film memorabilia, of course, would be hugely popular. Up and down, it goes up and down in value. Obviously, it depends on what's in vogue, like many other things, you know. Anyway, of course, Conrad, as I said, he had a wonderful, rich voice. You know, his voice was very distinctive, and he was used in an awful lot of films. And of course, he was used to voice the 1961 Bruce Willis feature film. Remember that one, Hudson Hawk? I think, yeah, Hudson Hawk was the one. Anyway, and of course, he narrated. He was narrated the animated Rocky and Bullwinkle from 1959 to 1964. Some of you remember that well, you know, 1964, Rocky and Bullwinkle. He did that as well, you know. And I suppose, do you remember the opening credits? We did a Hero Nikon show on David Jansen, who played the lead role in The Fugitive, and the voiceover, the voice used in that series, you know, this has been a Quinn Martin production and all of that. That was voiced by William Conrad. And obviously, I mean, he was very much in demand. And he, I suppose, narrated any of the narration that was in the 1970 film as well, which John Wayne starred. And I think it was his final film, but I'm not too sure. Chisholm, I think, I don't know, it was one of his second or third last film. Anyway, he was the voice used in the narration of that, and many other works. You can read all about that yourself. But getting back to William Conrad himself, I suppose, I mean, he did suffer a lot with his fluctuating weight, you know. And anyway, he directed episodes as well. He was a director, and he was very successful at that. He seemed to be successful whatever he said, whether it's a voiceover or script writing. I had no idea of the talent of the man, I must admit. I only had seen him in Jake and the Fat Man and Cannon and other bits and pieces. I never knew anything behind the scenes, you know. And he directed a good few episodes of the famous NBC series, which was Klondike, which in the 1960-61 series. And he also directed episodes in The Rifleman, remember that one? Bat Masterson, Route 66, Have Gun Will Travel, 77 Sunset Strip, and Ripcord, as well as the ABC drama, of course, the crime drama, Target, The Corruptors. And I remember, some of you now listening and looking at this may not remember any of those, because if you do, I can nearly guess your age. Anyway, you're listening to LearMedia.tv with myself, Pat Barry, and Heroes and Icons, and all the episodes. This is episode 9. All the episodes can be found on our YouTube channel, Lear Media TV. Now, in 1963, William Conrad directed Jeffrey Hunter, the wonderful Jeffrey Hunter, who passed away all too early, very young age indeed, you know. Temple Houston, I don't know if you remember, that was a spin-off from the Virginian, or around the same time anyway, Temple Houston, because Jeffrey Hunter was in the Virginian as well, was in Clú Gallagher and a few more like that. But anyway, of course, I mean, they were all, they had this particular looking, the cowboy look, I don't know what you call it, you know. Anyway, as I say, so I suppose, and now coming on to the television series that were familiar with us, RT in its fledgling in the 60s and 70s did buy a lot of television series, obviously from the United States, were popular because obviously, you know, it was a fledgling TV broadcast station, or TV, I think RTE, radio television or something like that. I forget the recall it was the St. Bridget's Cross symbol anyway, on our own television station. But anyway, Canon was broadcast from 1971 to 1976 as a television series on CBS. And while he was starring in the show, he started off weighing 230 pounds. You can make up that yourself, you know. And by the time the television series was over, he was close to 270 pounds. Now, I'll tell you something. I mean, parallel to that, he had a great sense of humor as well. You know, obviously it helps when you have problems, health problems as well. A sense of humor does help. And there was a company beginning that in the 70s called Weight Watchers, which was a newfangled company, as I said. It's still going splendid today, Weight Watchers. It is one of the better ones because there are many of them out there, all right. But this seem to have good success and good, I suppose, attitude towards losing weight and eating properly. And he was quipped one time, Conrad, and I quote him as he said, "I heard that Weight Watchers had banned its members from watching the show," that's canon. But it turned out to be a gag, Conrad said in 1973. The publicist for Weight Watchers did call and suggested I have lunch with their president. I said, sure, if I could pick the restaurant. That's William Conrad himself. Anyway, I suppose, and that was a very successful television series, Canon, that is from 1971 to 1976. And really, I think, you know, it endeared them to an awful lot of people. And really, I suppose, on a personal level, when you see someone like that, they're fluctuating weight, and he really did struggle with it. And I mean that genuinely, because an awful lot of people pay lip service to people who are overweight or obese, and really, it's very easy to be judgmental of people. It's very easy to say, well, you can't do something about it. Sometimes it's not just one thing. There are many, many other issues in people's lives, their personal lives. So really, the best thing to do is do not be too harsh, because you know, you never know, you might be in a position of some other health crisis yourself someday, and really the last thing you need is someone, you know, not being very positive towards you, you know. Anyway, and so I suppose right through the 1980s and into the 1990s, he starred in two very other successful TV series, you know. One of them was Nero Wolf, and the other one, of course, was Jake and the Fat Man, and he was synonymous with Joe Penny in Jake and the Fat Man, and that ran from I think 1987 to 1992. And really, I love that series, I must say. And it's, you know, really, I watched an episode of it the other night, Jake and the Fat Man. It is, yeah, it's a bit dated, but nevertheless very entertaining. That's the word I was trying to get out. And I watched an episode of Canon for my sins the other night. I must say I enjoyed that. I just nostalgia, I suppose you can talk. You can mention nostalgia. You can look at things through rose-tinted glasses from afar. But these series were well made. You know, they were definitely well made. There was real actors in them. You know, unlike some of the television series from today, which we won't mention. But really, as I said, Jake and the Fat Man ran from 1987 to 1992 with Joe Penny. And I suppose he also served throughout the 1970s and 1980s. That's William Conrad served as sitting in his armchair by the fire, host of the CBS All-American Thanksgiving Day Parade. That was a huge event because it's akin to our St. Patrick's Day Parade here. And he anchored the network's annual holiday telecast of parades from all around the US and Canada, from Detroit, Hawaii, New York, Philadelphia, Toronto, Union. But he was sitting in the armchair by the fire, and it was really, I suppose, he had a personality, he had an intellect, he had a presence, he had a wonderful voice, of course, he never lost that, you know. And of course, as I said, in 1957, we've gone to his personal life a bit, William Conrad was married to former fashion model Susan Randall, and the couple had a son by the name of Christopher. And that marriage ended in 1979. And in 1980, William Conrad married Tipton, as she was known as Tippy Stringer. And he was with her. He was married up to his own death, and she passed away there in 2010, I think, something like that. Anyway, so and he that was Tippy Stringer. She was a TV pioneer, and she was a widow of the famous NBC newscaster Chet Huntley, and she managed his career, so she was well versed in media circles, and so it was a perfect fit with this William Conrad and Tippy Stringer. Now, another aspect of William Conrad's life was that he was a fantastic fisherman, and he was into these competitions and won quite a lot of them. And he, as I said, he was loved being in the outdoors and fishing, obviously. And I tell you, I must confess, I know nothing about fishing. I know nothing about a light tackle, a heavy tackle, or anything like that. Don't ask me, I don't even know. So I had to look a few things up to look as if I knew. I'm not going to pretend. Anyway, William Conrad, he was well known for his light tackle fishing. And of course, that was well documented in the fishing magazine, Field and Stream. And Conrad is credited, now this is very important for all you fishermen out there, so pay attention, while he was fishing there down in the Yucatan Channel of Mexico, he caught, wait for it, a 62-pound, 4-ounce sailfish on thread-like 6-pound test line. Now, I know that's very important because I read it up. I wouldn't have known it otherwise. But there you go. He was adept and loved the outdoors and all, you know. I suppose Conrad, unfortunately, because of his health problems, he didn't live well, he lived, you know, he was almost 75. He died of a heart attack in Los Angeles on February the 11th in 1994. That's William Conrad. He was buried in Lincoln Terrace section of the Forest Lawn Hollywood Hills Cemetery. The reason I give you out this, because I got a couple of emails in, I didn't mention the other people who had passed that we did, where they're actually buried, because people travel a lot, and so, you know, if you're ever over in that neck of the woods, well, there he is. He's in the Lincoln Terrace section of Forest Lawn Cemetery, Hollywood Hills Cemetery in California. There you go, that's William Conrad. And after his death, he was elected to the Radio Hall of Fame in 1997, and also to the Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame around the same time. That's William Conrad. Now, as I said, William Conrad, there's a huge you can look up these yourself. I'm not going to read them out. You know, there's a huge body of work that he did, both acting behind the camera and all of that, you know. And as a director, you know, he, as I said, he directed Highway Patrol, Target, McKinsey's Raiders. Remember that? I remember that, the Rifle, as the Rough Riders we mentioned, and Tombstone Territory. And he directed a few episodes of Batmasters, and I used to love Batmasters and all those other cowboy films. Klondike and Route 66, Naked City, which is another series that ran there. I don't think we ever got some of those over here now. Have Gun Will Travel, I know we did. Have Gun Will Travel. There was Oh, Richard Boone, I think, was the chap in that, and he directed 6 or 7 episodes of how Have Gun Will Travel. That is, and I said Temple Houston, of course, he did 5 episodes of that, and Gunsmoke as well. He actually directed a couple of things of Gunsmoke as well. But anyway, there you go. Now, William Conrad, as I said, he was a larger-than-life character from Louisville, Kentucky, buried in California. Was a wonderful actor. I loved his Jake and the Fat Man and Ken, and I hope it might inspire you again to look up some of the stuff he did, because some of these can be easily forgotten. And so I suppose before we finish up, I'd like to thank all the people who take the time to look at our podcast on our YouTube channel. And William Conrad will be up there later on in a couple of days as well for you to see, to view. And I suppose a star of radio, when radio was at its most pomp and all of that, fighter pilot, Second World War, the rank of captain he achieved before he left that, a television producer, to an actor, a writer, a director, all-round good guy, fantastic voice. Please look up his and he created, actually, before we finish, the role of Matt Dillon in the radio version of Gunsmoke, and of course that translated us in television serial. But there's a few there now. I think I'll visit again myself. But thank you for listening to this edition of Heroes and Icons with myself, Pat Barry. Tell all your friends about us, and don't forget to press the red button on the bottom right hand side to subscribe to our channel. We're trying to get our subscribers up to 1,000 subscribers. So tell all your friends about us, and if you like the show, please share it with your friends and ask them as well to share it on and so forth. That's how we get our subscribers up. Thank you for looking at this and listening to this edition of Heroes and Icons on the wonderful William Conrad. So until we meet again, take care, goodbye, and good luck.